I did an episode. I don't know if you're familiar with Kathleen Matthews. She's, I think you'd love her and her work. Actually, she's her and her husband John Matthews. They are
Oh,
incredible pair. You know John Matthews?
well, I thought I would have pronounced it Caitlin, but it's
No, you don't. It's written Kaylin, but it's a Irish way of saying that particular spelling of her name. Yeah,
okay.
I would
Well,
yes,
yes,
but
I'm well
you
familiar.
do know. Um, so yes, absolutely wonderful woman, and we were talking, on the podcast last week about the way that, modern psychology has almost, like, just kind of pulled the archetypes out of the stories, so you kind of, like you lose the roots, you lose that context, and you kind of got these archetypes which have power and are, are in some ways for, I guess, at best, they can be a doorway back into story, but only if we realize it's missing or allow us to kind of allow them to sort of bring us back into the story. But I think that's the challenge, isn't it? Is recognizing the archetypes alone are bereft of the land they came from, really simply put.
Yeah, I think that's the extra step. It's not just getting the archetype back in the story because there is that, right? You get stories that
Mm,
have these people in them, and instead of talking about the specific person, we make an archetype out of them. Like this is the wicked witch, or this is the handsome prince, and so then it's no longer a specific handsome prince. It's no longer
mm,
specific witch. It's archetype. So yeah, when you put it back in a story, now there's more context and there's more understanding of this person, and then you can take a next step and realize that wait, um, within a living culture, these stories are all connected.
yes.
So
Hmm.
you start, yes, you get a story about the wolf being a bad person in this story, but then you learn the backstory of the wolf and why they're necessary in another story when you're older.
Mm,
So you get a nest of stories, and still that next step, as you said, that has to happen is it has to go back to the land because uh, these stories, it's so important to remember this. All of these oral tradition stories, everything in Grimm's, everything in Italo Calvino's collection of Italian myths, all these collections, um, they come from oral traditions. Yeah, these come from people who pass the stories on knee to knee, you know, meaning grandchild on the knee to the next grandchild on the knee, for generations. And so that then is bound by memory, human memory, which is not infinite. I mean, now, yeah, you want 20 versions of a story, just hit Google and boom, you've got them. You
mm,
order the books. But back then, you had a limits of memory, so you couldn't afford to remember everything. You might hear a story and it's very entertaining, but you got to do the quick math of like, is that worth remembering or not?
mm.
Does it stick or not? And if it doesn't, away it goes. So the reason these stories are kept, I would submit, is because they have teachings and teachings about how to be a good human in the world and a good human on a particular place of land. How do we live? How do we survive? The stories have those teachings. That's the function of culture. Um, I heard that first from my friend Kisimo Esqueu, who got it from this elder Narcissus Blood. That culture are these sets of teachings of how do you live on the land. And
Mm,
so, um, if you don't understand that that's what the stories are for, and that the stories are actually uh, primarily there to help you understand the architecture of life. In the
mm,
absence of the architecture, you get archetype. In the absence of seeing the real things, that this is the sun and this is the moon and these are the stars and this is the tree and this is a story about this plant. In the absence of that, which is the real architecture of the world, you can actually see and hear and taste and touch and experience. We get these inner indwelling archetypes that have no context to them. So the context of so many of these stories has been ripped away, which of course is why Stephanie Mackay's work is so important. Is this reweaving of the context back into the what's now just empty content? Um, and it's not that the psychological level. I mean, I just interviewed Stephanie myself a couple of days ago. It's not that like the psychological level isn't there, but it's good to remember none of these stories were crafted by Jungian analysts.
mm.
None of these stories
Yes.
were crafted by
Mhm.
people who had the faintest idea about what psychology was in the modern sense. They were also all crafted by people who had a very collective sense of identity, primarily, an individual second. It was not, this wasn't a in hyper individuated existence. It wasn't a nuclear family existence. It was a village existence that existed in the context of the natural world. So, so now we live these hyper individuated things. We have no connection to the land, most of us. Um, and so then it's all just inner archetypes, which is it's beautiful in that if you follow the thread of the inner archetype, it will eventually deliver you back to the architecture of the world.
Mm.
But
I
it's
see
easy to
that.
drop that thread, and it's
Mm.
easy, and it's hard. It's desperately hard to do. Like if you think, oh, this character in the story is the devil, and that's really actually just the inner devil in me, and you don't realize that actually in that story they're the devil because they had to become the devil to cover up for the fact that this was a story about the sun, and this is a story about the real sun, and not just, you know what I'm saying, like you take it from
Mm.
sun to a story about the sun to, oh, we can't have it be a pagan sun god, so it's got to become the devil, and now it's my inner devil, and that's
Mm.
and so suddenly you're just, yes, there's value in, okay, looking at your inner devil, there's benefit to this. It's not bereft of purpose, but it is far from the purpose of why that story really existed to begin with.